Hey everybody, welcome to the Jesus Magnet. Today we are doing a testimonial podcast with our guest David Yang, who is currently in Australia, and so we're going to have him called into the show today. We've got with us Joel Hillary and Mr. Todd Kirkwood.
G'day.
How's it going, mate, David?
How's it going?
Oh, he doesn't talk like that, does he?
Oh, I can put it on if you want me to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. How's it going?
Is David your birth name, or is it just Dave?
Pardon, sorry?
Is David your birth name, or is it Dave?
Yeah, David's my birth name, but in Australia everyone calls me Dave, Davo, sort of thing.
Cool.
I think we might just go by Davo.
Davo sounds good.
Such an Australian thing for
Definitely. I like it.
So you got in contact with us through Facebook through a mutual friend of Joel Hillary's, isn't that right?
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, shout out Zhao and Andrew. They're incredible.
Yeah.
I did a couple of deals in Invercargill with property, and David, as you know, Zhao and Andrew, they sort of they are people to go to for words of wisdom and advice, hands down. I believe they're converting a school to become apartments.
Wow.
They're very, very interesting. Yeah, they're incredible people. And Zhao sort of teed us up together, said that you've got a story that God's given you, and you've been able to share it with us on the Jesus Magnet, and we believe that it will bless a lot of people and all our listeners, because every single time we get so encouraged with these stories. They just show that God's presence is so real in today. And so thank you for coming on, David, or Davo. It's such an honor to have you here.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And you're absolutely right. Big shout out to our friends. They're just wonderful people, and they've just got a vision and a fire inside of them. So, yeah, it's great. It's great to be up and see where this takes us.
Yeah. I might just ask you to speak right into your mic if that's all right. Just coming in a little bit patchy on our end, but that's all good.
Mm-hmm. No worries. Is that better?
That's better. I couldn't hear the Australian twang before, so that's a bit better.
Apologies for the aeroplane that's about to fly into the caravan we're recording in. It's right outside. It's good.
We've recently created a recording studio out of a caravan, which is kind of cool. So, Davo, that'll help you get a visual for where we're at. Yeah, you can tell we're professional because we're in our own driveway.
No, this is the best time.
Yeah. We're going up in the world. It's kind of cool, but yeah, we've never encountered planes before, so.
I kind of think we're a step up from everybody else. We have a movable studio. Yeah. Everybody else stuck in their one spot.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, David.
Yeah, what's soundproofing? Soundproofing doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Mobility matters.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my thinking. All right, let's start with your story, David. Where do you want to start? At the beginning's a good place to start.
Yeah, well, I'll try to start at the start. I'm very passionate to tell my story because I feel like God has done so much for my life, and I don't know where I'll go with it and how it's going to end up. But so far, it's just been a brilliant journey with God. So yeah, I guess I'll start at the start. So I was actually born in the US, actually, surprisingly.
Whereabouts?
My family, Georgia. Atlanta. Yeah. That's as far as I know in terms of the geography of where I was born. And then my family decided to move back to Taiwan after 1 year. I don't know if it's to be close to family or whatever, but that's kind of where I'm from. And then God put a plan or put a purpose and a mission in their heart to spread the gospel. And so they came to Australia. And I was about 2.5, 3 years old, and I've been here ever since. So that's kind of where I'm from and where the journey started.
So are you an American citizen then?
Well, I'm actually a bit hazy on that because I think I might at one stage have had 3 passports.
Well,
But I don't think the US likes that. So I think I have to give up 1 or 2.
Okay.
And I'm just don't really want to pay too many taxes. That's where I'm at.
So you have a US passport, a Taiwan passport, and an Australian passport.
Yeah. But the US one has gone out of date because I haven't visited since since probably 10 years old. So I haven't really gone back. So I didn't really need to update that one again.
That's
But
cool.
Yeah. Hey, serious question though. Have you ever put all your passports in a reasonably hard location, but kind of still easy to find, in a box with lots of cash, just to make it look like you're a spy if somebody comes across it? Because I would do that if I had 3 passports.
Like a Jason Bourne film.
Yeah. I would have it just under the coffee table, sort of like someone could stumble across it, just to have people on.
Yeah, look, I didn't know. I was looking around. I didn't know you were a mind reader. I was like, that's a bit too obvious, is it? I did a bit better.
With like a fake water pistol or something.
Yeah. Fake water pistols and some fake Batman cash.
Just a big stack of Monopoly money.
Yeah, Monopoly money.
Sorry, carry on. Back to the real story.
I think a bit of fun is always good. So that's where I'm from, and growing up in Australia, it's quite funny because you don't know any better, so you just go through life as normal. And I didn't think I was anyone special, or like I'm not like a professional athlete or anything like that, or something like that. Just a normal guy, grew up in Australia, and I just didn't know what was going to happen and what God's journey for me was back then.
Yeah.
So I'll fast forward a bit. I won't go too long otherwise. So I grew up nice and easy, and I've been blessed with good, faithful parents who just love God. Always took us to church. Always taught us about the purpose in life. It's more than just living for yourself. Serving, just to serve others. And so I kind of grew up with that type of mindset and type of heart for God. So me and my family understood, like my siblings, I should say, understood early on that, it's not just about, getting money or getting a job, etc. It's just much more than that, because my family rooted their entire lives, entire family, and just decided to go to another country because they were sent out, and they had God sent them out to Australia to spread the gospel. So we knew early on that there was more purpose in life than that. And so growing up, again, I didn't know this was special until I've grown up a bit more and realized that it is quite weird to do this. We actually grew up with, for most of it, one of our family friends living with us. So we lived on I feel like the whole theme of my whole story is that I kind of have the best of all the worlds that God has given us. I lived in Brisbane City, so it's not in the city, but Brisbane, so it's the biggest city. But I live on the suburbs, and then after that, I lived on a little acreage, on the suburbs. So I was kind of in the city person, and then we kind of owned a little bit of land, not like huge amounts, but just a bit of land, and then had 1 horse, 100 chickens, some dogs, and all that. So we had enough space. So we actually lived with a family friend of ours, who was actually a pastor, from the same church back in Taiwan with mum and dad. And also, I didn't know who made the decision, but probably about 10 or 12 or 15. So we ran about 25 people, homestays. We got in from overseas. So that was back when the economy was really taking off, and a lot of our friends from Taiwan were like, well, we're going to send our kids overseas to learn some English, and they're not doing that well at the school here. Like they need to change their mindset a bit, so we'll send them out, and we did the homestaying for them. So growing up, I had like 20 people in the household every day.
Wow.
Never a boring household.
No, I wouldn't imagine so.
It's a great way to get those social skills growing up. I think you can really tell the difference for those who have had lots of people in and out throughout their house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, just want to touch on your parents. Were they missionaries, or were they just coming over to bring your family into a better or a different life, or what was it?
So the homestays, you mean?
Oh, just for when your parents originally moved to Australia, was that?
Yeah. No, they weren't missionaries. So they were just part of like Bible college, and then they just had this fire to, cause, like I said, with the economy booming back then, like a lot of people were starting to migrate to Australia, and it just so happens that the plan was just to spread the gospel there, and in Australia, I mean, and just that was it. I'm still not 100% sure, like, if they had a set plan, but like, as part of that team, like people went to South America, some people went to Canada, some people went to, I believe, I can't remember. Like they were spread out a lot in that for my mum's group, but no, they weren't real missionaries. And I think back in the day, no one was really like officially trained with a certificate with a title sort of thing. It was just kind of just happened.
Right. Okay. Oh no, that's cool.
Yeah. Good question though. I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, just the way you said it, that God had given them a purpose. I wasn't sure if to spread the gospel.
No, because mum would to this day she was like, no, I'm not a missionary. I'm not a pastor or anything like that. I'm like, you kind of have pastors, not in the official sense, but you sort of have.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. Something I've never thought about. So the kids that came over were like your teenagers, so 12, 10. The youngest one was 10 for a little while, but that was a family friend. The others were more like 13, 14 to 17, 18 sort of thing. When I was younger, these were all my older brothers and sisters, and they just looked after me. So I really just grew up in a household full of people, full of life. And it wasn't like, and we just had family church, so it was nice and easy. So that was the way I grew up. And I, like you said, like I thank God so much for that, because there's been so many benefits of me, like knowing people, the social skills, and community, like just having that family and community, like that's what family can be like.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. So that's one of the blessings that I've had in my life there. I'm just thinking, I was going to share. Yeah, dinner times are a bit of a battlefield. Living with a bunch of teenage boys was you learn how to survive quite quickly. It was first come, first serve. After grace is finished, you just go bang, 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 and everyone took as much food as they could in their bowls, and off we went. So
I think
that taught me.
Anyone on maybe a scout camp or a youth camp probably knows that you had that every day.
Yeah.
And out of your siblings, you got two siblings. Are you where do you sit in?
Yeah, I'm the oldest of three.
You're the oldest. Or the big responsibility there?
Yeah, heavy responsibility. But I've just been blessed. Like I've got the best of both worlds. I had the responsibility, but we grew up with, basically a youth camp, like you said, every day. So I had all these older brothers and sisters that also looked after me.
Yeah.
So it was responsibility definitely was there, but like also it wasn't.
Yeah.
Wasn't as strong back then.
Okay.
No,
so take us from you're living in Brizzy, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Brisbane.
Yep.
And
we're still. Yep.
You just got a house full of loads of people, loads of teenagers. Did you find that there was you had to sort of like have your ground in your Christian faith, having so many different teenagers? Because I mean, when I grew up as a teenager, that was the most that was the time to rebel, and having a whole house full of teenagers, did you have to like sort of stand your ground or be the mentor for a lot of them, or were you rebellious yourself? How did it all work?
No, so because I was younger, so I was about 10 back then, and the other guys were all a bit older than me. I actually took the opposite route. Funny, you should ask that. I saw things they did, and I was like, that doesn't interest me at all.
Yeah.
Which is weird, like, because I knew like one or two of them was sneaking, maybe a cigarette or something like that, and once they turned 18, they just blatantly smoked, which is what it was. But for the most part, like, I just went, oh yeah, and so yeah, probably the opposite route. I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
That's good.
What they do,
yeah,
it's not
awesome.
as fun.
Standing back, observing from afar, and it's a good way to approach.
Pros and cons.
Yeah.
I see you cough a lot. Probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Some of them did. Like, I was like, in the basketball courts, like, we just play together, and like, I'm like, why is this guy always a bit, huffy puffy? He's like, he's smoking now, so it's not the best. Not the best.
What a dingo.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't you follow us from you're 10 years old, you got a house full of siblings, half sort of siblings. What happened next?
Yeah, so we then, I don't know when the transition happened, but I guess like we just slowly dwindled down a few. So we went from like 15 or 10, and then we started going smaller and smaller till we only had about, I'd say, 5 maybe, or 3, and then we slowly we only got down to 3 people, sort of thing. And at that stage, my dad got into, so we've always done like a bit of import-export business back in the day, and then we went into, pardon?
What did you import and export?
So it was a bunch of stuff back then, like just people wanted stuff from overseas, like furniture, Asian furniture, like rice cookers back in the day, like it wasn't as easy to get. So anything that people wanted from overseas, basically. Yeah. It was all like,
wow.
I find it funny now because everything's like, all the exporting is very, very open now. But back in the day, like something as simple as like a bamboo rod for like sweeping the floor, like a mop, not a mop, a bamboo broom from Taiwan, like, and people wanted that. So
wow.
It was just an assorted of stuff. Like it's hilarious what some of the things we undocked for them. Yeah, so family items basically. And somehow, I don't 100% know when the transition happened, but we got more and more into the tiling business of importing granite and marble tiles. And so part of growing up, I would help with that. And then somehow, again, this is where I'm a bit hazy on things, is when we started doing like kitchen bench tops as a main import-export thing, and then installing it. So kind of becoming a stonemason, my dad.
Oh, wow.
And so we went from, doing that to running a business. And so the reason why I'm talking about the business now is because there's been lots of ups and downs in my life, and it's all got to do with like what's happened and all the history behind that kind of thing. But yeah, so we transitioned to we moved houses. Okay, we moved a bit further away to a house with a bit of a shed / factory sort of thing. Like it was it was quite big for a shed. It was a huge shed or a small factory, depending on how you want to talk about. So on an acreage, you got your home, and then you got a huge shed on the side that we started doing our business on. And things were going well for the most part. There were some financial difficulties back then because of we had a housing boom for quite a while, and then suddenly it just kind of collapsed. Can't remember when exactly this happened.
2008?
But,
was it that
yeah.
crash? The 2008 crash might have been that one.
No, I think it was. Yes, it was that one. But just a bit before that. So 2006, we started seeing like a lot of builders going out of business. Back in Brisbane, and the housing prices in Brisbane was ridiculously high. Like there was a bit of a bubble there. So it kind of collapsed, and the 2008 one was when it fully collapsed. But this was just a bit before, and so our business wasn't going as well.
And you're working in that business?
Yeah, so I wasn't initially working too much into it, so we would just spend our weekends there, and just help out whenever there's a new shipment come in. So like, if there's a new shipment, we'll go help unload and undock for a night. But generally speaking, I was 14. I didn't really have time. And then by 14, what happened basically was one of our investment properties that Mum and Dad invested into didn't go through. So we had a few cash flow problems there. So because of that, we were just really, really under the pump for cash. And so it wasn't like it didn't sell, but it just sold like it was just delay after delay. So one of the houses just really, really stuffed the whole operation up, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's weird, but then also we then obviously had to cut costs somewhere. So we, instead of another worker helping out Dad in the business, or three others, it just became me, my dad, and one more worker operating this.
That's quite a lot of responsibility on a 14-year-old.
Yeah. So by that time, because of that financial difficulties in the business, all our homestays, and they grew up too. Like they all grew up, and when they pass 18, 19, they leave and start their own journeys. So by that time, it was just the family and one worker that didn't live with us at all. And so by that time, it became, we knew, and Dad was honest with us, and we knew we were struggling a little bit. We were we were just in trouble, but it wasn't too bad. We were still making good money with the business. It was just that investment property was really dragging down the whole thing. So I think that whole delay happened for a year or two. Like that one house just didn't sell, or like it just fell through.
Okay.
So increasingly I'd spend all my afternoons, so after I got home from school, I'd just come straight to the factory and cut stone. So that not like me, grinding it, but like there's a big machine, so I'd have to load it up, help with the carrying, load it up, cut it, unload it on this big platform, diamond cutter thing, and then Dad would then polish it. So the beautiful kitchen bench tops that you like, the stone ones that you can see sometimes.
Yeah.
The sides are all smooth. Yeah. So someone's actually made that cut, and then someone's also had to hand polish that, most likely.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it. I had no idea.
Yeah. It's not terribly difficult, but there is a bit of a process, and it is heavy work because we're dealing with tons and tons of rock, of granite, sort of thing. And so that was life, just go to school, come home from school, get into the factory, help out, all night till 7, 8, 9 o'clock, do my homework, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And so that happened for a while, but then things got even worse. So what happened was my dad just wasn't feeling great. Like physically, he was just tired and he was just sore. And so we tried everything, massages, going to the physio, like all that sort of thing, naturopath, all that. And we just didn't know like what was the problem. So we just went to the hospital for a checkup one day, and it uh, something I can never forget in my life. And I guess at the time you don't know it's a blessing, but now all I can say was. So I remember we took Dad to emergency because the pain was just unbearable that day. And they said, "Oh, look, we're going to run these tests." And they went into this room, Mum and Dad did, and then they came out, and Mum and Dad's English isn't that great. So Mum was like, "Right, Dave, you come into the room too." And so I did. And I don't know if you've ever heard about these stories or probably seen it in movies, but it was that type of moment that I was just like, wow, this actually happens for real. And basically the doctor just sat us down in a very calm way and just said, "Look, you have cancer," to my dad. And I was shocked. I was this when I was 16 now, I think 15, 16. And, you know, your mind goes into overdrive at that time, and you're just like, oh, that's like saying you have a death sentence, you know? And, but you, like, it's funny because the first thing you do in that moment is everything just calms. You go into this, I wouldn't say peace, but you go into this silence. Like all the noises in the emergency department, like I was hungry, nothing of that mattered. It was just like, is this for real? Like, is this actually for real? And the doctor was like, and he must have been really experienced because I think he handled it really well. And he just started talking because we were shocked, you know. And then he was like, "Look, this cancer is in the liver and it's spread already. Unfortunately, that doesn't look very well because it's in the lungs at this point in time." And as a 16-year-old, you hear about cancer, but you think you're bulletproof. You know, you don't think that happens to you. You might have thought of like some long distant relative having it. So the question is obviously the one question I think all people get when they first hear it is how long.
Yeah.
And the doctor was like, "Look, at this stage, it's probably looking like 3 to 6 months tops."
Wow. That's
and so
quick.
Yeah, so 3 to 6 months. And so I was obviously shocked. And then you go into this anger. By no means was I like an angry child, but let me tell you, when things like this happen, it's weird because it's like the steps in psychology must be like, they know what they're talking about there. First you go into denial, like, no, that's not true. My dad's bulletproof. He's a superhero, you know. He's in pain, but he's you know, it's not real. It's not real. And then once you realize that and the bomb drops, you go into anger. It's like, how dare that doctor? He doesn't know us. He doesn't know what we've been through. Like, he doesn't know any of this. Like, how can you just say simply 3 to 6 months? That's impossible. And I remember having the argument with my mum. Was like, "Oh, right, so the doctor says 3 to 6 months." And I was like, "No, Mum, you misunderstood. No, he said, you know, maybe. Like, there's potential for more. You never lose hope." So then I'm angry at Mum, you know. And Mum was like, yep.
Yeah, because you would have had to translate all this, or I guess make it easier for them to understand in the doctor's room as well.
Yeah, I didn't fully have to translate everything because I think Mum got the gist of it and the doctor obviously understood. So he used easier words.
Right.
But yes, I was trying to translate like the harder words, like the liver and like, you know, more technical stuff. Like,
can I ask? Can I ask what your dad's reaction to this news was? Or did he have a peace or more of a fear?
Honestly, all I can remember was he was just. I don't know how he felt, but all I can say is he just took it on the chin sort of and just like, okay. Like as if like, oh yeah, we now have the answer to the problem. Like that's why I'm in pain, you know. That's why I'm sore every morning.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was such a. I don't know if it was in shock or whatever, but he took it like as he normally would to any bad news. Like even through our financial difficulties, like I never saw my dad like break down or like he was honest with us. Like you knew he was emotional about things, but like never did I think like he couldn't beat it.
Mm.
You know, but he just copped it and he's like, "Yep, I understand." And I was like, I don't think you guys understand. Is it the English or what is it? Like, I don't think you understand what this doctor's telling us. But they understood. They did understand the gist of it the first time. That's before they called me in, I think. Yeah. So it was just, I don't know how long we were in that doctor's office for. In fact, I don't even remember how I got home that day. Or even if we stayed at the hospital for overnight tests or whatever. And then you get passed around in hospitals. So you go from ED to the, I can't remember, oncologist or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, oncologist.
Yeah. And then you just get passed around to specialists and then you just follow their processes and you're just kind of blind. You're left kind of just, you're just led to do stuff. And we were just waiting, like we couldn't do anything for Dad or anything like that. But and so that period of 3 months from chemo, radiology, recovery, and all that sort of thing was probably the weirdest 3 months I've ever encountered. I think I use the word weird not because I mean to. I just don't know how else to describe it because you're kind of floating, I think. You kind of just, I don't know what, like maybe other people have sort of thing. You kind of just live through it, get up day by day, you live through it, but you're not sure how you live through it.
Right. Coping.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know, like, so, you know, then basically we, you know, you kind of just accept facts and just, you just go through it. Like,
did you have a church family to, sort of lean upon?
Yeah, definitely. So that was the biggest blessing, I think, in like through the whole thing. Like that's why I say it was weird because it was also very peaceful and also a lot of happy times happened in the 3 months.
Yeah.
Before my dad, from that first diagnosis to when he passed away, that was again like it was a happy 3 months, but also a sad 3 months because we had so many visitors come in. You know, you start with your friends, your family, your church family come in and pray for you.
Yeah.
And then there was another pastor, a really close pastor, a friend of ours, who was actually going through chemo as well. So he actually got cancer as well. And so he was like, "Oh, look at me! I've got this cancer too, but I've been living for 4 years now."
Wow!
You know,
what a blessing!
And so, so like there was only positivity. Like, nah, that's just fine. We'll just get through it like normal. Like, you know, we all know we're going to die, so it's fine. Like, this just tells us we're going to die a bit sooner. And that's not to say God can't heal us. So, you know, and so it was just like people bringing food. Like people coming to pray. You know, my family flew in from overseas. All the people that we've blessed in the past, so like through homestaying, like it wasn't just a homestay, it was literally family. Like all of them came to visit, and like it was just, it was good because like it feels like all the people that we'd encountered up to that point in our lives came back to bless us through kind words, through some gave money, some gave food, some just gave company, you know. And it was happy, but then the reality was during the day when they could have, you know, everyone's got a job or whatever. But the reality is during the day and like during the times when we couldn't allow any visitors because my dad was in that much pain, is we still had to get through life. So that was also tough.
Yeah.
And so, and I'll never forget this either. Like, I remember days. So we go to school, we come back 4:00, get home. Then me and my sister then became the main people cutting the stone. So it was, so we couldn't afford a worker anymore because, we still had this financial problem still there.
Yeah.
And
so you're working and studying at school, and then you come home and you've got to work and you've got to deal with your father's cancer at the same time.
Yeah, and Dad was still working too. He was making plans. He was still writing stuff. I like Mum was running the business. I honestly don't know. Again, it's just a blur, like a blur of emotion. So we come home. I remember because this was one afternoon. I was 15, 16, and my sister was 1 year younger, so 14, 15. And my sister was, and I could just see it. It just broke my heart. Like she was just like, "This is hard," and I was like, "I know this is hard. Like we know this is hard. Like, but we got to do it."
Yeah.
And like you said, that's probably when the responsibilities came in. Like you just know, like there is no other way. There is no backward step.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the drag. This is where we're at in life. There will be better days. There is rock bottom. This is it.
And did your faith during that period, was that something that as you just had to walk through that trial, and you seemed very aware that was just, it was a trial that you had to walk through, you and your family, but did your faith in that trial diminish or strengthen, or would you describe your faith and your relationship with Christ following those 3 months?
I think I wouldn't say diminished or anything. I think it just transformed.
Yeah.
I went from, you go to Sunday school, you go to you grow up in a Christian family, you sing the words of all the songs, God is my strength, my shield, my everything, my foundation. You go from that and then you start reading the Bible for yourself. Like, what is my identity? And but I kind of skipped all those steps. And I kind of had to just understand, no, He is my strength, because that's how I get through every day. And it wasn't like, every day we would be singing praise and worship song, when we're working and things, we put it in the background, but it's also like, this is reality. Like, and Mum and Dad would be like, daily, God is going to get through us today. God is going to get us through this. Like, we believe in faith. Like, we believe that, the cancer will go. So every day we'd be praying that. But it transformed from, I don't want to say like my childlike faith, but my naive faith to a deeper understanding of God. So I think you're right that I understood it was a trial, but when you're in it, you don't realize it's like you're not trying to learn any lessons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's easy because I'm comfortable now, and like whenever a trial comes, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a trial. But when you're in that type of situation, or in 15, you didn't really understand it was a trial. You just knew that this is reality.
Yeah, it's just life. Like, is all of life a trial? It's a trying time.
Yeah, it's just life. Exactly right. It's just life.
So faith became real, honestly, at that point.
Yeah, faith. Exactly right. Like, so I knew, like, I started to know a bit more about the family finances then, because I knew how many stones I cut every day. Like,
yeah.
I knew that. And so you're absolutely right. Like, faith became life, and faith, it's just one. And to this day, there's still one. Like,
Sure.
you can't take faith away from my life anymore. It's just life. Like, and God is in life.
I think that's interesting that you said that you started recognizing these things as trials, and that it didn't diminish your faith in any means. In James chapter 1, verse 2-4, it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may mature and be complete, not lacking anything. So, like, it's so good that you were, even at such a young age, because you were about 16, were you, at this point?
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, 15, wow. That you're able to mature to the point where that faith, that trial, you considered it, I mean, not necessarily joy, but understanding what it was, and being able to like take it on the chin and understand that it's a trial and it's going to produce maturity in me. Yeah,
definitely. And I think when I was thinking about if I should share this story or not, I think I have to. Like, it was such a transformative moment in my life that I think I have to share it. Which is, there was this one of our old family friends that I don't even know of anymore. Okay, so we weren't even that close anymore. And I'm not in touch with them, but mum knows. That family is in Melbourne, so Melbourne's another city in Australia. And mum's family friend, mum's friend is a lady, and I think her partner passed away as well, so same thing. And she flew up from Melbourne, bringing his son to our house to just come and pray and bless us and just do life with us, because I think she understood that you just need company.
Yeah.
And I remember this. This is the weirdest, and this is not weird. This is a moment and a lesson that I'll learn forever in my life. It's all about someone's presence and someone's company, because you meet so many people and you talk to so many people, but when the hardest, when the dark days when the trials have happened, that's when you know, not necessarily just who your true friends are, but like, who's going to do life with you. And I remember, because we had this fabulous dinner, everyone was having fun. It was all good. We forgot about the whole situation. And the son, so our family friend, the son, he was probably, I would like to say, mid-20s that time, or maybe late 20s at that point in time. For some weird reason, he took us out for a quick drive. So this is me, my younger sister, and my younger brother. I think he was there too. My younger brother was 10 at that time. And he will probably have his own story to tell one day, but he also helped out, but I don't think he fully understood how big everything actually was. But he took us for a quick drive. Okay. To this day, I still don't understand why he took us for a drive, I think. But I'm so thankful for him. And I don't talk to him anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, he's literally, to me, he's like a guardian angel. But he was also the person I hated at the same time. So after this drive, so 10, 15 minutes, it was a quick drive. We all sat on the car, and then he just sat down and he just went, "All right, guys, before we go back in, I just want to talk to you guys." And I was like, "What? I don't really know you. Like, you probably drove us around to get some Macca's or something. It was good. Thank you for that. But like, I don't know you. Like, why do we need to talk to you?" sort of thing. And he was like, "Look, my dad also passed away from cancer. And what some people forget is to talk to the kids and how to live and how to recover through this." And so he I think that's what he said. And I don't 100% know what he said, like word for word, but the gist of it was this. He said, "Okay, your dad's gonna die." Right. Don't know if he was that eloquent about it or anything, but this is literally what I felt when I heard it. He was like, "Your dad's gonna die very soon," and I was like, "Okay, now we've just had a lovely dinner, like, we've all forgotten about this whole situation. There's no need to do this right now."
Yeah.
Then he's just like, "Then there's nothing you can do about it." And it's weird hearing that for the first time, because as someone who's quite practical, our family was quite practical, and I was logical person. He was just like, your dad's going to die quite soon. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
That's not to say you don't believe in God and God doesn't exist, but that's just what's going to happen. And I hated him. Never thought I had that much emotion in my whole life. And I absolutely hated this bloke. I was like, who are you? But then he just kept talking. For half an hour, he just talked about the recovery. I don't even know what he said. Again, it's like you just remember that one line and you just forget everything else. It's just a blur. But it's God's word. Like, it's faith. Like, he's a faithful servant of God. I can tell you, he's like my guardian angel, because he just spoke for half an hour. I have no idea what he said, but I thank him to this day, because if he didn't say those words, I wouldn't have recovered this quickly, or I might have left God, honestly.
Sort of prepped you for that, for the death, essentially, because you might have had, and not saying that it's not, like, it's great to have faith and trust that God will heal sickness and disease, but one thing that a pastor said to me to really understand it is we perceive a miracle in a certain way a lot of the time. So when we're praying for healing, say you're praying for healing for your dad, and he does pass, but what we've got to consider is, what does healing look like in God's eyes? Some say that sometimes God takes the sickness from the person, and other times God takes the person from the sickness. But in both senses, that person is healed. He is fully recovered. He's in heaven, with the Lord. And from God's perspective, which is the only perspective that matters, is he actually answered your prayer. And that's the great thing about being Christians, is that even in death there's life. So, I think that's good that he had a talk to you about that, which is to not lose faith when healing doesn't go the way that we assume it goes in our little tiny human brains. Yeah.
Absolutely. So how true. Like, so yes, you just hit it right on the nail. Like, exactly right. Like, because, like, I don't know, like, because you pray and people are trying to be positive around you, right? At that time, and everyone was just going, everything will be okay. They're speaking these words, and he was the one that basically was the reality check.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, because when you're 15, 16, you hear these things and you go to church, and you see miracles and you hear about miracles and things, and you grow up in church, all that sort of thing. Like, you pray, and I remember, because I think it must have been a few days before that, my dad was really struggling with the pain medication. He was very hazy, and you can start to tell when a person's starting to lose the fight, and like, you can do it, but you're in denial about it. So I remember being next to in his bed, and there was our family there, but I think my sister and my brother must have gone to bed. But that night I was like, God, you know what? I must have read something or something. I got really hyped up, and I was like, God, you're going to heal him tonight. And you stir your faith, and it was still, it's funny because, like, you grow up real quick, but you're also still naive, and you're still like, God, but you said, like, childlike faith is good, So I remember, because I was like, Mom, we're going to pray for Dad right now. Right now. He's going to heal us right now. And that was like a few nights before that. And I just said, right, Mom, Dad, we're going to hold our hands. God said that if faith can move mountains, like, we can do everything. So let's do this. Let's use my faith. And that was the day I tried to stir my faith so much. I was just like, no, God's got him. God's got him. He's gonna heal my dad. Yep. Like, and inside, you're in denial, but you're still gonna do it. Like, you don't want to leave any stone unturned.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why that line, your dad's gonna die soon, and there's nothing you can do about it. It was so big for me, because there was literally nothing I could do about it. no extra work. Like, I couldn't put in more work in the factory. I couldn't get higher marks at school. I couldn't, you can't pray more. You can pray more, but you can't stir your faith any further. You can't read the Bible 24 hours a day, trying to receive with, like, you can't do that. You can't do anything, because this is, if God wants to take him away, he'll take him away.
Yeah, it's completely out of your control.
Yeah, and that was the day that I kind of started to understand that.
Yeah.
And so very quickly from that day on, don't get me wrong, I put this entire situation on that guy's head. I started hating him a lot. Not that I told anyone about it, but I was like, oh yeah, nice guy. I'm like, but inside I was like, I hate that guy. He's the worst. Like, who does that? Like, who comes to my house, has a nice family dinner, we fed you, like, we cooked for you and host you, because he stayed over for a night because he was from Melbourne, and then do that to us. Like, I hated that guy. So I blamed everything, the disease, everything on that guy.
He's not on our team. He doesn't believe what we believe. He's
exactly
not sharing our optimism here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. You try to be positive, and exactly. Little did I know that he was probably the most on my team that out of everyone I knew, because he was the only one who's gone through it himself. And he was the one who was like, these guys need to hear this thing. These guys need to hear the recovery. These guys need to hear what to do from now on. Because life doesn't just end after this event. Things keep happening. And so now that I've grown up a bit older, but also I thank God for this, because when my dad did finally pass away, it was, I think, probably 3 months or 3.5 months to the day. So 3 months to the day that the doctor said. They do know what they're talking about. And I was, we're in the hospital with palliative care, and when my dad peacefully passed over, this is like, there's a miracle, I guess. Like, the peacefulness of God on that day just spread over me and my family. There were tears, but also there weren't that many. Like, so my dad passed away overnight. So my mum stayed with dad in the hospital, and we went home the night before. And then we went over in the morning of, and then we get to go for one last look, essentially, is what they do for us. And then, and mum took us in. He's like, okay, so dad's passed away peacefully through the night. We were just praying and talking, and he just told us how much he loves us, and he just went, I'll see you in heaven, sort of thing. And so when we got there, there was a peace in that. God's peace was in that room. It really was. We went in the room as per normal, and Dad just looked like he was sleeping, and he had this little grin on his face. And yeah, like, you'd think he'd be in pain or something, but there was this little grin. Like, my dad's got this cheeky little grin, like when he's smiling. That's like this half smile, half like I'm up to a bit of trouble, sort of cheekiness to it. And I remember, because it was like, how does one smile in this situation? But when we saw it, we just went, oh, he was finally in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad was just in peace. Like, and in our hearts, we all, like, I looked over at my mum, and she was crying, but she also was smiling, and looked over to my sister. She was bawling her eyes out. And thank God for her, because she kind of bawled her eyes out for me. And I remember trying to hold it in, and I had a few tears. And then I remember then I said to God, well, God, I guess this is it, hey? But there was this peace in my heart. Like, it was just so peaceful. And it must have been supernatural. Like I knew God was there and Dad was still there. Like, that's what it feels like. They were still there. They're just looking over us and going, yep, we're fine. You know, we'll see you in heaven.
A few years ago, my grandfather passed away. And a week before his passing, he got saved. And it was knowing exactly where he is. Mm-hmm. It wasn't we were sad that we were going to miss him, but it really was a supernatural peace that surpassed all understanding that went through our whole family. And like sort of a very similar situation, although my grandfather was obviously a lot like older, and he had lived a long life, but he wasn't saved. And the moment that he got saved, a week before he died, was just, you know, it was like all the anxiety, everything for the family around him and himself. He didn't fear death. He went from fearing death to ready for it in 2 seconds flat. It was incredible to witness. So I really like that, how you mentioned that your dad had a smile, like a cheeky grin, when Jesus had taken him, and it was kind of like him letting you know, I'm happy, I'm at rest, I'm with Jesus, and I'll see you soon. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like and that's one of the things that's so good as to be Christian, and not just to say I'm a Christian, but when you are a Christian, there's no other way to explain. You just know that there is God and He's got you. He's got your back. He'll look after you. And this is a cricket sort of thing, but I remember someone was like that pastor friend of ours that had cancer for 4 years. He just went, Dave, your dad did a good inning. And I think that's one of the best terms I've ever heard in my whole life. And I've always kept it to heart. It was just like, yeah, my dad has done a good inning. He's played a good inning on this earth, and we'll play more when we get to heaven. And so that's, like, looking back on it, it's just, that's the foundation of what it is to be Christian. Christianity is not just singing songs. It's not just, and we know that, but it's not just knowing there is a God and, trying to solve our problems one day at a time sort of thing. And it's not just about that. And everyone's got a story to tell, but for me, like, having faith in God is just, it's in your being. It's just, you can't separate God from life, and there'll still be struggles. I still go through my ups and downs, but like every day I'm just like, no, God's got me,
Yeah, for sure.
God's got my back, and like He will still have my back,
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Thomson, I saw you writing a few things down. Did you have anything to ask?
So, David, I feel like you might have a cool perspective on this, actually. This is kind of a question I've been asking myself. A year and a half ago, my brother-in-law passed away from cancer as well. And it was a very interesting process because the cancer lasted for 2 years. And what had happened is he got this cancer, and then they did a surgery where, they cut out, quite a lot of tissue that was cancerous, and they said he was cancer-free, and that lasted about 3 months, and it came back, and it was spreading everywhere. And so, as much as I, trust in modern medicine, I'm also going to the Lord, and so just hoping for the best. And I had a moment similar to that as well, because I was actually chatting on the phone. I was here in New Zealand, and my brother-in-law was living back in LA. And so his condition was getting worse. I had seen him in August of 2018, and then I saw him again in February of 2019, and he was about half the size. You know, he had just gone downhill, and it was just quite a journey. And so by the time October of 2019 came around, you know, it was looking really bad. And I got a call from somebody who was giving me an update on his condition. And for me, I was trying to make the decision to come back home, or, you know, what could I do? Because it's a big trip back to the States from New Zealand, but at the same time, it's so worth it. And so I'm just trying to time it, you know, like, is this the right timing, or do I wait, or what? And, you know, I was speaking on the phone, and this guy said, oh, he's going to die. And it was the same thing for me, because I needed that reality check as well, because I was trying to make a decision to actually fly home and see him. But my question is, you know, at what point, what do you think, you know, at what point do you go from I'm believing for a healing into I'm emotionally preparing to lose this person, I'm accepting this sort of sentence, and I'm actually preparing for the loss?
I think everyone's got a timing for themselves. And I think some people are much quicker, some people, like, it's just a healing process, I guess. Because I think, I don't know who said this to me, but I do. There's that pastor who was really close with my dad in those 3 months, and before that too, that had cancer for 4 years. He told me, and he told our family, he's like, you know what, I'm still believing for healing every day. And I was like, oh, I guess you can say that, because you're pretty positive, you're running around doing everything.
Yeah.
But he's also like, you know what, also, I pray that God will take me to heaven every day too.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And I didn't understand it, because I didn't really understand it till afterwards, after everything passed, that it's, as the patient yourself, or as the person yourself, you're kind of in lieu. You're kind of in this place of, you're just doing things because you need to, so recovery, blah, 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 and, you know, hoping for the best, all that sort of thing. But I also think, I know this is going to sound a bit weird, and maybe even a bit wrong, but it's like, that's everyday life. Every day, you sort of, God can take me from a car accident, you know, and I don't want to make a cliche, but
sure.
So, but it's when afterwards, like, I don't really have an answer for you in terms of how long will it take and how long should you do the reality check or whatever. But what I mean is, I can quite happily say right now, I go, if I really do pass away today, I have no regrets.
Yeah.
In my life. And so I guess I don't know if that sort of answers your question, because your question is, when do you pray for healing, and when do you pray for, you know, accept the fact that, you know, you're going to die? Well, I feel like that's every day for every one of us. Like, every day I'm praying to be better. I'm praying to do more. I'm praying, you know, all my goals, all my plans, all my visions, everything. I'm praying for all of that. But also every day, I know I'm right with God. That if I really do, you know, die from an accident or anything, that's okay too, because I'll be happy in heaven.
Yeah.
I think putting your trust in God in a funny way, like we always say to trust in God, but when you know, family members start dying on cancer and people say trust in God, what does that look like, you know? And I've got a friend of mine, and this story probably explains it quite well. His name's Jared Campbell and Reuben Campbell. They're two brothers. Shout out to you two if you're listening. But when we were in high school, I'm trying to remember how old I was. I might have been maybe 12 at the time. No, I might have been younger than that. I think I might have been like 9 years old at the time. And his dad was diagnosed with brain cancer and passed away. I think it was about a year. And he was only supposed to have, I think, a couple of months. So God extended his life by a year. And they had 4 kids. So there was these 2 boys, Jared and Reuben Campbell, and they had twin sisters as well, Emily and Lucy. And looking at it from that day, the day that their dad passed away, Barry, you ask yourself, Lord, why? Why would you do this to this family? Now, I'm just going to fast forward to today. I'm 26, and Jared and Reuben are our age. And the 2 sisters, the twin sisters, they are both nurses. And they have helped so many cancer patients. Jared, one of our really good friends, really close friends, he's studying to be a brain surgeon. So 3 out of 4 of those kids are saving lives. So if you look at that, God has taken one person to heaven to extend the lives of countless people. Because that's the profession they chose, because of this testimony of their father passing away of brain cancer. And you only have that perspective that God actually really does know what he's doing when you zoom out and you can see the life effective, like how much their lives were affected, and the good that they've done because of the tragedy that happened when they were younger. And all I see is Jared's dad looking down from heaven, and going, that's my boy. He's saving lives. And saving lives, people that are potentially unsaved, and they get to the point where they could pass. And you got this man of God who's also a healer, a brain surgeon coming in, sharing his testimony about his dad's death and sharing his faith and how he still believes in a loving God and that he knows that his Father's in heaven and that he'll see him soon. And being able to save lives, to literally let God save lives for them to be saved. And I just think that's like such an amazing thing. Like when you really zoom out, you can see God's hand in it all. And I used to scratch my head and wonder throughout high school when I was with Jared and Reuben, and we would, because my father had gone through a horrific brain accident, horrific car accident, and had brain damage and things like that, and he survived. And one of my best friends, his father had died, and it was like, why did one live and one not? And from our perspective, we have no idea why. But then when we zoom out, years later, we got these healers, doctors, fully going forth and doing the work of God. Like, it's just incredible. You really got to zoom out.
And I think, so to answer the other Joel's question, what time is right is, I think, when you want to be real with God, I think that time is right. So, I don't know who said this word to me. He's like, David, do you have faith in God enough that you believe God can take it? And I was like, what? I was like, yeah. Stop holding back things you actually want to say to God and actually tell him, because he can take it. I can guarantee you. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm not holding back anything. He's like, yes, you are. And I was. So have you, my question to you, I guess, or my thoughts about this is, when death does happen and comes knocking on the door and things like this, and you can't accept it, you have to ask those questions that you really want to ask God. So why did he take him away? That's the first blatantly obvious. Why? Right? Trying to find meaning in all of it. You ask, you be angry with God. You learn to hold your anger and all that in church, and I did. But also, I knew that there was this anger at God, and it wasn't until I guess till 10 years later, when I was 25, 26, when I actually was like, God, I'm actually a bit angry with you about how everything went down, and being truly able to open up. Now, I am at peace with it, and I was already at peace with it. But different situations, if you never truly ask God those questions, you'll never recover. So when you ask how long will it take? Well, whenever you're ready to ask God and just be angry at God, be confused at God, and just go, God, what the heck is this? Why did this happen? Why my dad?
Sure.
Why not someone else's dad? Why not that serial killer? Why is he living nicely? My dad was good. Why? Right? Why me?
Sure.
Yeah,
no, that's a good point.
So you still believe for healing, but ask those questions. I can tell you, I've been on my bedroom, and I was just couldn't sleep one night, and I was just why God? Just why? Just why? Why would you make me? And I guess I'm fast forwarding a little bit here, but the recovery continued till even 2 years ago. I remember this really, really well because I've moved out of home, and I knew God was with me, but I was just why would you let me believe that you don't have me, God? Why would you build up my faith so much to know that, but also have that 1% of doubt that you are for me? So what I mean is I believe God is in this. I believe everything is in this. God's hand is in this, and His miracle is in this. But in my mind, I'm yes, I believe all that. But in 1% of my little mind, in a tiny little corner, my darkest, deepest corner of my mind, I'm just but is God really for you? Is God really for me? Because if He didn't need to take my dad away.
Yeah.
And unless you're willing to search and dig, because it doesn't come out every day, unless you're happy to search and dig and truly go ask that question of God, I'm going to be real with you. Why? Are you actually for me? Unless you do that, I don't think, time itself doesn't really matter, I guess. It's a process of digging.
For sure. And so I guess, I think a lot of people might have a different perspective on this, and sometimes we can come to a different conclusion, I think, theologically as opposed to experientially. But, would you say that you believe that God took your dad?
Yeah, so this is one of the questions I still ask to this day. I'm well, I must sort of somehow believe that then.
Sure.
Not that I don't know that that's the answer. I know God exists, and then I guess this is something that everyone goes through. I know that God exists, and He is for me, and there's too much evidence and too much to show that He's not in everything. But also, can I even blame the bad things on God?
Yeah.
As well. But then to ask that question, and this is something that I still pray about, is then, well, why was I even born? Because if you want to blame God on that, then you also have to blame God on being born, and then you just go nowhere because you're born. You are you.
Yeah.
And you just are. And I think, when I pray and I was God, who are you? What are we all doing? Sort of thing some days. And I like it because God just says, I am who I am. So I'm not heavy onto like different theological conclusions there. I like my logic and things, but I've also experienced so much that all I know is God is, and I am who I am.
Yeah.
God created me that way.
That's such a good answer, and it's so good to come to. I mean, what it really sounds like too, David, is that you've come to the end of yourself, and probably more than once, just knowing part of your story, but you've been through a lot, man, and so coming to that and then still trusting in God, it's like, maybe not always having the answers, but still choosing to trust Him anyway.
Yeah, Isaiah 55 says, God's thoughts are higher than ours. He has purposes we can't comprehend, So, knowing that whoever does pass, they're in good hands, I think it's such a hard thing to let go. But, I always ask myself this question sometimes when I'm pondering. And if God grabbed me, just right now, brought me to heaven, and I was able to see, what's in store for us, and if He said, and feel His love, like a full presence right in front of me, the angels, the magnificence of heaven, and everybody that had passed, I'd see my granddad again and things like that. And then God said, do you want to stay? If I had said yes, one thing that I would be wondering, I'm like, I will stay as long as this decision doesn't affect my family and my family's faith. That would be probably the only thing that would stop me from staying. And I do wonder if maybe your dad had a similar experience, who's with God, and he goes, what's going to happen if I stay? And he might say, I'm going to strengthen your son's faith to a point where he's going to be the man of God like Moses. He's going to be all out, on fire for the Holy Spirit, and he's going to save tens of thousands of souls with his testimony and his ministry. If that was the answer, I would probably stay with God. And that, it's such a weird thought, but when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, okay, I will, from God's perspective, I'll put this person through this trial because I know what the outcome looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's encouraging to see, even at such a young age, your faith just stepping to something else. Like, a lot of teenagers can be off, going out to nightclubs and getting fake IDs and drinking and stuff behind their parents' back. But you're there reading your Bible, growing in your faith. It's encouraging to know that, when you do read your Bible and you do pray and you do believe, and also, as you said, with that community of your family and those friends that came down, that it is important to have family and share those things with your family and a community to actually also help yourself grow in your faith. And just especially you're staring, for your father, I guess, staring death in its face and believing for some sort of healing, that God's going to heal your dad one way or another. I found that really encouraging for myself, just to knuckle down and continue to read my Bible and to believe and stand firm on God's word that He will be with you in these times. He will give you peace, and He will give you that strength that even we don't even understand. No, I do. I do appreciate your story. We've been going for a while now, Dave, and I think we should come back for a part 2 and hear the rest of your testimony, if that's all good.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap up because it's one of those testimonies that I want us to make sure that we have that energy to get the most out of it that we can. So yeah, would you like to come back on a later episode, Dave?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Because I know that you've got a little bit more to share in the notes here that you've sent us, and we'd love to hear more about it. So yeah, Thomson, would you like to wrap us out?
David, thanks so much, man. You have a super unique perspective. You have a heart of faith, and to be honest, it's just really cool to be able to get your story out there. So do you have anything you want to say before we go?
I'll just finish on one scripture that I've just held on to for everything. It's from Hebrews 11, this verse 1 there. It just says, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see." That's just a normal New International Version. And I think through this whole ordeal, we just have confidence in God and what, I hope for, everything to be good. But there's an assurance that we don't see it yet, but it will happen. So that's kind of where I want to leave that.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, David. To all you listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again here. We'll come back another time with another guest. We'll see you soon.
Yep.